What it is that I've been trying to share with the world is that I've had a profound consciousness expansion in the last year. It happened in a single moment and then in stages as well. What happened to me is that my subconscious is now fully conscious. And I mean, I would only say that this increased the experience of my brain power by a billionfold. Why would I say a billion? Well, because what happens, and some of the people that I've coached also have this experience, that my mind only thinks in a visual experiential realm that's like a universe, that the imagination is profoundly unlimited, and I can invent anything, I can think of anything. I'm able to put so many things into my mind in one space that I absolutely, after this experience, map the entire mind and that of many mental illnesses and found the cures, and I need people to take it seriously, that I have actually found a way to use medicine to cause this experience. You know, I know exactly what is happening in the mind. I have mastered my mind to the point of emerging as a completely different being. I don't even see men and women anymore. I look at people and I see the entire architecture, their reality expressed in the patterns of speech. I can look at someone's eyes and I can read their mind now. I can experience someone else's consciousness in a three-dimensional realm because I'm very clear that the world that I live within now is all occurring within my mind. But you see, consciousness in its purest essence is totally objective. It has no being other than what you create. You know, that the truth is that when you escape the reactionary dynamics of a mind contaminated by the fight or flight reaction turned inward, what happens is that you reveal that the consciousness is nearly infinitely larger than anything you could ever experience or express with your mouth. And the voice in the head merely disappears entirely. The voice in the head merely gives context to the 35 or so reactionary devices that I pulled out of someone's mind in a coaching session, and found that exact same list in every single other human being with no distinction whatsoever. That everybody creates the same exact list of triggers because those triggers are all the missing emotions that are obliterated by the first fight or flight reaction in early childhood around the ages of 5. That creates the proverbial people pleaser, a pervasive misinterpretation of reality that causes a segregation between the subjective and objective realities that results in inevitable collapses that we call heartbreak, betrayal, and failure. You see, the failure is simply caused by the lack of observational awareness, where the emotions that are normally there to guide you in life are underneath the fight or flight emotions that seem to be normalized emotions only because the fight or flight mechanism of the sympathetic nervous system saved the emotional internal environment of the child at 5 years of age, creating a pervasive fear of abandonment, where abandonment anxiety in evolutionary biology was only a temporary emotional state that causes baby animals to follow the mother, like little ducklings behind a mother duck. They follow because they feel safe in proximity, and they start to get anxiety based on distance, and this is necessary so they stay around the mother, and that's it. That's the only purpose for abandonment, anxiety. But the reason a human being is the only adult species that experiences abandonment is because the irrational abandonment of an adult, where they could be with somebody that's abusive and then feel like they can't carry on with their life, is because the fight or flight mechanism in the world of animals saves successful defensive or aggressive behaviors for later recall. It's what populates the animal kingdom and the cognitions of an animal and saves it as an involuntary reflex to reality, where the consciousness is transformed by the induction of efferent signals from the sympathetic nervous system releasing norepinephrine. The inhibition of consciousness causes the consciousness to collapse and automatically envelop the predator. When an animal experiences a sound that arouses the stimulation of the sympathetic nervous system, it creates a fear-based curiosity called "something's wrong here" that we verbalize, but animals do not. But this fear-based inspective curiosity causes the animal to scan their external world because there may be a predator hiding. You see, this inquiry is what they're doing within their mind. The rabbit hears a noise, it's going to be looking. There's a fox. The animal gets triggered into a complete fight or flight, and their consciousness collapses into a simple decision-making apparatus, fight or flight. The inhibition of awareness, of consciousness, segregates the mind of the animal into two distinct locations, subconscious and conscious, and this is a temporary phenomenon. And this is so the animal that does not have the ability to navigate reality with an understanding of it will make decisions only in reaction in relation to what its momentary consciousness is aware of. And so the tunnel vision effect is based on the inhibitions inducted by the norepinephrine. And so the mind's eye that has flexibility collapses involuntarily, and this state change is only alleviated by either running away or destroying the threat, fight or flight. And so the infinite behavioral responses of the rabbit and all its freedom is removed, forcing it to engage this threat. Because you see, when a rabbit is walking around in nature, it has many different instinctive behaviors that are powerfully driven, like marking territory, reproduction, eating, whatever it may be. But you see, since the rabbit does not navigate a world that it really understands cause and effect, it doesn't know that it will die if it gets eaten by a fox. If it didn't have fear of foxes, it would get eaten. And that's why animals that we tame do not survive in reality, or an animal that you were to take from nature as a baby would not develop this necessary psychological dynamic that would be programmed to give it the ability to navigate its world. This mechanism in psychology was necessary for animals to survive at all. It's a generational imprinting system that modifies the consciousness of animals to cater to specific environments and enables generational changes in psychology that cater to changes in the environment. And so this programs the animal to have automatic instinctive reactions that enable their survival in a world where animals need to persist over the eons. Now, this mechanism is present in human beings, but we had a rapid proliferation of our brain power. At some point in human history, we developed so much intellectual powers that our brain was able to create even a secondary state where we can use an imagination to review the past and future, where animals don't do that. They do have the recollection of behavioral dynamics, but not based on memories. That the experiences are only stored within them to activate, say, the cerebellum to repeat a certain behavior, right? And so they will save the emotions or save, the behavioral patterns at the level of cerebellum and cerebral cortex, but they do not use past memories to contemplate a reality in the way that the human imagination does. And the human imagination was a profound gift, nearly making us psychics. To the point where we can take an animal from nature and breed it into something else and take advantage of the evolutionary biology of genetics and make new animals like dogs and diversify them for whatever purposes we want. But this dynamic is haywire in human beings, primarily because when we developed spoken language, we created one word, that word me. The word me created this illusion of a segregated self from the view of reality, when the view of reality was the only means through which any animal has ever successfully navigated. The modern human being is afflicted and does not have enough awareness to recognize that they barely even access their consciousness, simply because since the age of 5 and the age of before consciousness in the case of narcissists, human beings are living in a pervasive fight or flight paradigm that psychology thinks is a normal phenomenon. But classifying consciousness and subconsciousness fails to recognize that the consciousness is something that expands and contracts. And so it is just contracted, and it's contracted at such an early age that the consciousness develops without the person's awareness. And so the subconscious is not something that's supposed to be permanently segregated from the human experience. And so I've developed the methods to cure this, and I do it on a daily.